I don't know what to pose for the thumbnail, and recently I found, not I actually, but basically we bought this drink. It apparently exists in Hong Kong as well. So that's pretty cool. A bit of a throwback to my trip to South Korea. Oh, anyway, it's not related at all. Today I'm going to I forgot to do my intro. It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to do a a review for the latest Danny Brown album. You know what I'm saying? I was basically doing Danny Brown's voice. Anyway, Danny Brown is a rapper from Detroit, Michigan, and he had been dropping some music for a long time now. His music is known for how freaky, unorthodox, and wild it is. His taste in beats, instrumentals, and flows and deliveries are always some of the most unique and weirdest in hip-hop. Yet his music is some of the best. I mean, we have the XXX album, which is one of the best albums of the year of its release, and we also have Atrocity Exhibition, released in 2016, which is one of the best albums of the year simply because of how dark and also deranged and unorthodox it is. It's the usual freaky Danny Brownisms mixed with some dark instrumentals that are rather moody, and we have tracks like Ain't It Funny, Really Though, and my personal favorite, When It Rain. And these tracks are bangers. They are bangers, yeah. And so, to answer the question that is, how will Danny Brown follow up to the grand album that is Atrocity Exhibition, is that he releases this album. You know what I'm saying? Where it's more simple, and it's actually more lighthearted. It doesn't have a concept surrounding it. The beats and the instrumentals here, they are really simple. They follow a pretty general formula of hip-hop, and it actually feels kind of old school. This album almost gives off a throwback vibe, which is really nice. And a lot of the tracks on this album actually has this really nice old school East Coast hip-hop vibe, and it turns out Q-Tip of A Tribe Called Quest is responsible as one of the major producers for the album. Anyway, this album is actually not that bad. I thought it would be kind of bland and boring before going into the album, but to my surprise, it's actually not that bad. However, that's not the case for the first track. It's not terrible, but it's kinda bland. You know, in Danny Brown standards anyway. It's titled Change Up, and it's a pretty boring introduction for the album. The instrumentals are pretty atmospheric. We get some lo-fi bass, and Danny Brown raps in this clunky flow that doesn't go so well. I like the concept of the track about not looking back, moving forward with life, and I do kind of like the bass on the instrumentals here. They are lo-fi, but they kind of grew on me a little bit, but still, it's not a very exciting album opener. However, the rest of the album is pretty solid. We have the second track here, Theme Song, which is a very solid and cohesive song, even though it's not as wild or as freaky as some of the previous Danny Brown songs. The instrumentals are mystical with its very dreamy strings, and also Danny Brown sort of plays this rap veteran on the track, where he criticizes and looks down on younger rappers, and I think he's actually kind of qualified to do that because he's in the game for quite some time now, and his music is proven to be some of the best. And we also have the third track, Dirty Laundry, one of the lead-up singles to the track, and for the first few times of listening to the track, I wasn't impressed because the instrumentals are just so weird, and Danny's flow on the track is a little mid-paced, a little sluggish, almost spoken wordish, but the instrumentals and the beats really grew on me. I really like how odd and funny and unorthodox it is. I like the weird squeaky synths. It reminds me a lot of the earlier Gorillaz stuffs. It sounds like this type of instrumental will show up in Plastic Beach by Gorillaz or something. And the production by Q-Tip is really obvious in this track because one of the samples used in this track is actually also used on the first track off of the final A Tribe Called Quest album. So there's that. Anyway, afterwards we have the track 3, Tearz, featuring Run the Jewels. And it's one of the more underwhelming tracks on the album in my opinion, even though we have Peggy's production here, JPEG Mafia, that is. And it hits kind of hard, but it actually isn't. The beat is kind of mid-paced, the instrumentals feel kind of lackluster, and the features by Run the Jewel, while I think LP and Killer Mike are great rappers, their feature on this track just feels kind of average, kind of generic, and the track overall just doesn't feel all that exciting for me. And then we also have the track Belly of the Beast, which almost suffers from the same problem in that the instrumentals are kind of scant, kind of chopped up, and kind of aimless. We also get these, I think they are synths, but they are so weirdly distorted and processed in a way it almost overshadows the track at a few times. And while it features Obong Jayer, which provides this really deep, smoky voice to the track, which is a really nice addition, the track overall still feels kinda tame. However, the next track, Savage Nomad, is pretty damn amazing. Definitely one of the best songs off of the album. It really goes hard with the drony bass, the intoxicating, sparkling guitars, and also the very dense lo-fi beat of the thing. Also, the rhyming scheme is ingenious. It is Danny Brown in his natural habitat. Anyhow, the next track is Best Life, also one of the lead-up singles here. And to my surprise, it's actually very hopeful and optimistic, something that you wouldn't expect from Danny Brown normally. And the strings and the samples, they are very feel-good, very soulful, and the message of the track is actually really amazing in that it's about there is no next life, so live your best life. And that is a life lesson that I think every single person on earth should learn. Afterwards, you have the title track, which isn't really all that fantastic either. However, I do kinda enjoy the instrumentals where it's kinda sparkly, kinda glistening, even though it's very spacey and R&B infused. The lyrics here, they are a little tedious, but the feature by Obong Jayer on the track really adds a nice touch to the track because why am I stuttering a lot? Because it gives this track a really nice personality and a really nice texture. Anyway, the next track is Negro Spiritual, featuring JPEG Mafia, and I absolutely love this track. It also features Flying Lotus and Thundercat as well. You know, just 4 very talented musicians playing together. It's a really tight and busy banger, which I really love. I love the intricate drum beats, Thundercat's really wild but also very intricate and busy guitars, which are very angular, and also JPEG Mafia's performance here is pretty amazing. It doesn't go as hard as I would have imagined, but his delivery is so raspy and almost wheezy in a way. It just shows how versatile Peggy's performances can be, and of course the flow and the instrumentals of the track overall is really amazing. Anyway, we have the last 2 tracks. The penultimate track here is Shine, featuring Blood Orange. So of course we get some vocals from Dev Hynes on the track. And this track is a really special track because yes, it's very spacey, very atmospheric, but it actually ends off feeling kind of nice and comfortable instead of feeling kind of bland and boring. And the lyrics of the track feels hopeful but also fearful at the same time, where Danny Brown sort of reflects on his career. He looks forward, he looks back, and he has feelings about his career, and the chorus of the track is very compressed, very chopped up, but still in a way it feels pleasant and enjoyable. Anyway, we have the last track here, Combat, which isn't really like the most conclusive ending to the album, but this is the track that clicked at me first when I first went through the album. It's the track that instantly clicked for me because it's really great. It's a really great track. It's moody, it's punchy, it's slick, and it's almost a little dark. I really like the theatrical horns in the instrumentals, but it's paired with the clunky lo-fi bass lines, which are descending really nicely. And the flow by Danny Brown, while it's not really wild or freaky or eccentric or anything, it's way more toned down, way more quiet. It actually perfectly complements with the instrumentals, and it actually feels like a veteran track, a track made by a rap veteran. Yeah, like throughout the whole album, Danny Brown just sounds so experienced. And instead of sounding like a crazy wild party guy, he sounds like a very matured hip hop uncle. And this track also deals with trauma and violence, and I like it. I like it. So yeah, overall, while the album isn't as thrilling or as eccentric or as freaky as Triple X or as dark and as ambitious as Atrocity Exhibition, it still has some of the finest hip-hop tracks of the year so far. And my favorite track here is maybe Combat or Negro Spiritual. And my least favorite is probably Three Tears I Am Giving. Danny Brown's, you know what I'm saying? An 8 out of 10. So, have you listened to this album? From 1 to 10, how much would you rate it? Like if you like it, hate if you hate it, and subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching. Yay! Dinner time.